You're listening to 90.7 FM WKGC, Panama City.
Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Doing Dinner with Chef Chris on 90.7 WKGC Public Media NPR. And today, we're doing something a little deeper, Angela.
I know, and you've never said y'all to begin with.
I haven't said y'all. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing today? So you know we're going to be talking about something from the South.
Uh-huh.
You know, I love the South. The South is soulful. It's a little more soulful than the rest of the country. Because this week, and actually today, we honor Juneteenth. And it's a day that marks emancipation, but also resilience. And I thought the best way to honor this was to reflect through food and culture on the Low Country. Okay. And, you know, I want my listeners, if you're not driving a car, please don't do this if you're driving a car, to close your eyes for a second and picture a porch swing creaking in the summer heat. The air is thick. The humidity is, well, the humidity. But something sweet is drifting through the air, and it's peaches ripening on your countertop. Or the slow perfume of wood smoke, you know, curling off a backyard pit, because we talk barbecue a lot on this show, too. And this is the Low Country, and today we're going to talk with some soul, and we're going to eat with some soul. And when we talk about the Low Country, we're talking about more than just a place. So the Low Country, it's a stretch of coast that runs from the Outer Banks of North Carolina down through Charleston and Beaufort in South Carolina, and through Savannah and the Barrier Islands of Georgia, okay, and into the tidal marsh area near a place called Amelia Island in Jacksonville, Florida. But culturally, it stretches even further, like across oceans and continents over centuries. And really, I think here in Panama City, we take a lot of inspiration from two cuisines and kind of match them together. The Gulf Coast doesn't really have its own unique cuisine. We take a lot of Cajun Creole influence, which is to the west of us in Louisiana, Mississippi. And then we take a lot from the Carolinas down to Jacksonville. And it kind of created this like mashup of both of those cuisines. So here, it's very important, too. You know, we do shrimp boils and things like that. And there's a historical significance behind where the shrimp boil comes from. And it specifically comes from a place in the Carolinas. So at the heart of this cultural quilt is the Gullah Geechee people, okay? And they're descendants of enslaved West Africans brought to the Low Country coast specifically for their deep and sophisticated knowledge of doing one thing, and that was growing rice. Okay. They weren't just laborers. These were agricultors and engineers and master farmers, and that's important to say because the wealth of the American South in the 18th and 19th centuries was literally built on these people's backs, and also from their minds, because they knew how to grow rice in this type of area. And if you look at Africa and where the Low Country is, it kind of lines up. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a straight shot. And they came from the rice-growing regions in West Africa. So today, what we know is present-day Sierra Leone, Senegal, Gambia, Liberia, and they carried them with this knowledge of tidal irrigation, which is needed to grow rice before, you know, irrigation was what it is today. Like, now you can grow it anywhere almost, but tidal irrigation is different because it's about seed saving and crop rotation, and they didn't just survive here. They adapted and preserved their identity in, like, really extraordinary ways. So there's communities isolated on the Sea Islands of Georgia, St. Helena, Sapelo, Edisto, and that's where the Gullah Geechee people developed this distinct, like, Creole culture. Their language, they have their own language, and it's called Gullah. It's a mix of English and African languages, and there's people that still speak it there today. There's still entire communities of these people, which is amazing, and it's rich. I mean, it's like their arts, their basket weaving, they have cool songs, they have amazing storytelling. All of these things have kind of survived there for centuries. But to me, the one thing that they left that influences all of us was their food.
Okay.
All right? Because Gullah Geechee cuisine is layered with meaning. It's the original farm-to-table cooking, and my style is farm-to-table. Okay. I go to the farmers markets here in Panama City and North Florida, and I buy vegetables for my restaurant. And that's how I do it. I want to know the farmer. I want to know the person growing it. I want to know who put the work in so I can tell their story through my cooking, right? And that's kind of fun to do. And Gullah Geechee people tell stories through their food, which is amazing. So a lot of it is about making do, or what I like to call cooking from the hip, stretching the harvest. They're very honorable people, so they honor their food. It's almost sacred to them. And it's very deeply African. It has a lot of Caribbean flair. It has a ton of Native American techniques. And you see it in, like, certain dishes, which is really cool. There's a dish called purlu, which is like spiced rice cooked with meat or seafood. So think red beans and rice. Okay. Think jambalaya. All came from purlu. Yeah, and then you probably have heard of this one, Hoppin' John. And have you ever heard of Hoppin' John, Angel? Do you like black eyed peas? No. I'm not talking the band.
No.
No? All right, well, it's black eyed peas and rice. But peas and rice is very Caribbean.
Okay.
All right, it's very Caribbean inspired. So in this area of the country, they make it, and it's called Hoppin' John. And it's black eyed peas and rice, and it's traditionally eaten on New Year's Day. Because it brings, like, luck and prosperity. So okay, everyone should eat greens and peas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then okra soup, which is the ancestor of something we all know, gumbo. Stewed okra and tomatoes is where gumbo came from. So it's kind of like a really, really cool thing to know, like, this is where it originated. Mm-hmm. It was okra stewed down with acid, tomatoes, and it was really amazing. So, yeah, and red rice. Red rice is a really cool one-part meal, and it's like these layers of heat and sweetness, often cooked in a cast-iron pan. It's very similar to paella.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has another name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Benashin, something like that, but I don't know. Anyway, these are all comfort foods, and they're all cultural archives. And, when we think about Juneteenth, we think about emancipation, that movement in 1865 when Union soldiers finally arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce that the last enslaved people in the Confederacy were now free. But emancipation wasn't just a political shift. It was a personal, it was spiritual, it was very culinary. Because now all of these people's food spread across the United States. Mm-hmm. It specifically spread, across the South. And after black Southerners created new lives with what they had, they bought land, they fished, they farmed for themselves. They gathered for church picnics, fish fries, oyster roasts. Recipes evolved. Barbecue took on spiritual meaning, which it still does today. And food, especially food passed hand to hand, became a way to reclaim culture and honor ancestry and build joy. And today we honor that. We're gonna cook with the past, add some creativity and hope to the future. We remember that smoke isn't just a flavor, because that's how they cooked, with lots of fire back then. It's a thread, it's a connection. It creates memory. So today, Angela, we're painting a picture of a low country table. Okay. And that means we're going to eat.
All right, but wait. We're not doing chitlins, right?
We are not doing chitlins.
Okay, because, see, I would have to just get up and walk out. I don't know what you would do, but...
No, we're not doing chitlins.
Okay.
No, we're definitely going to do some other stuff, though.
Okay, yeah. I'm ready.
And there's some cool things that come from that area. Like gumbo, which is more often tied to Louisiana, but its roots are definitely low country. Mm-hmm. Shrimp and grits. Mm-hmm. A dish born out of simplicity. I mean, grits are from that area. The Americas, we had corn. The Native Americans had corn. So that was something that was here before people came here, before, Westerners came here. And then, like, Carolina gold rice, which is kind of cool, because it was a rice that was thought to be extinct for a long time. And then they found it in this culture. And then there's a company called Anson Mills that found chefs who could use this stuff, who were from this area. One in particular who has kind of shaped the entire cuisine of what these, in the oral history and the practice of what is going on here. His name is Sean Brock, and he used to have restaurants in Charleston, and now he has places in Nashville, Tennessee that are amazing, truly amazing, like low country Appalachian cooking. Yeah, so and when you think about it, it's a place that's very rich in water and seafood and rice and corn and peaches. Everything grows there. Okra, black-eyed peas, a very unique ingredient, similar to sesame seeds. It actually is an heirloom sesame seed. It's called bene seed, and they make these crackers with it called bene crackers. Sweet potatoes are from there. Cornmeal was originated there. Yeah, so when you're thinking of this table and what kind of menu we're going to do today, I have some pretty good ideas because I love cooking like this.
Okay.
This is really good soulful food, and it definitely feeds the spirit. Have you ever been to anywhere in the Low Country? Savannah, maybe?
No. I've traveled through places, but just, going somewhere. I think I went to Atlanta, the casinos several years ago. And so, I was actually, born on a Army base, and so being an Army brat, we traveled around a whole lot when I was younger, but when I was older and, old enough to really pay attention, no, it was in the last maybe 10 years that I realized that it was red dirt.
It was red dirt.
In Alabama here. And then I learned that people eat it, and it's like, what?
Well, it's definitely a different cuisine. I mean, the Gullah and Geechee people have been cooking this food for a long time, and it's truly incredible stuff. That's where collard greens come from.
Okay.
That's where a lot of our soul music and how music's played and listened to that is comes from there. Okay. And yeah, the people that live there love to celebrate, and food is the center of the celebration, and that's what we have to love, right? And
that's where that Big Mama came from.
That is exactly where Big Mama came from.
Just gigantic feast of food, and it's like food to feed the whole neighborhood. If you're hungry, come on.
Yeah, and I think actually you said Big Mama, and there's still a place in Panama City called Big Mama's on the Bayou, but it used to be owned by this woman, and her longtime cook ended up buying it from her and expanding it, but it was at 11th. It was on Old 98, right before downtown, and it wasn't on the water, but it was kind of on the water, and it was in this old house.
Okay. And
it probably had 6 tables in it, and you could not get in this place at lunchtime. It was the most delicious food. I was like, my goodness. I went there a lot with my mom whenever I was younger, and it was really, really good, and it was just called Big Mama's. That's what you knew it as.
We're not talking about that restaurant that's on the swamp back
there. That's the second iteration of it.
Okay.
That's the second one. It used to not be like that.
Right.
It used to be a lot smaller, and it was more. It was on Old 98, right past the church on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was fantastic. The house was falling down. I don't know if they even had a real kitchen in the thing or not. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what, that lady could cook, and it was delicious. Really, really good. And yeah, it was a very, very cool place. And I actually had Bo's on Panama City Beach for a while, and it was kind of modeled after that. My food was definitely not as good as hers, but
okay.
No, it wasn't.
Now, before we get into this break, since we don't have enough time to really talk about what's going on, how about a little teaser? Now, we're definitely doing some drinks, right?
Oh, we're definitely drinking.
Okay. We're doing several courses, or we're just doing a big giant?
Big giant. Family style.
Okay.
We're going to talk about family style menu today because that's how they eat. This isn't going to be our typical fancy dinner party. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be, where you could have a big old table or a bunch of picnic tables, and you're all just eating the same thing, and it's all served at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're probably going to have cornbread.
All right.
We're probably going to have cornbread. And we're definitely going to have seafood. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dang it.
You know. But two of my very favorite things in the world will show up.
Okay.
And we'll talk about them after the break. This is 90.7 WKGC, Doing Dinner, Chef Chris.
On last week's Wait, Joelle Nicole Johnson expressed mixed feelings about the president's birthday parade.
I hate having something in common with a wannabe dictator. I would love to have a military parade for myself.
I'm Peter Sagal. On this week's Wait, we look for common ground with Olympic fencer Ibtihaj Muhammad. Join us for the news quiz from NPR.
Saturdays at 10 a.m. on WKGC.
Commodore's Care is Gulf Coast State College's initiative that connects students and employees with opportunities to make a difference in Bay, Gulf, and Franklin counties. By volunteering, they're making a real difference and strengthening connections in our community. It's all about coming together to support others and make an impact. Learn more about the Commodore's Care initiative and the difference it's making at gulfcoast.edu/volunteer.
And welcome back to 90.7 WKGC, Public Media, NPR, Panama City. And today we are honoring the Low Country. The Low Country, which spans from the Carolinas all the way down to the coastal marshes of Florida, Amelia Island, Jacksonville. And we talked about some of the history and the people that were there and how the cuisine was shaped and how they got there, because they were amazing rice farmers and engineers with growing vegetables and food in tidal basins, specifically rice, which the rice coast of Africa, they brought them over here and they did their thing, and now we have amazing food in the southeast United States and around the rest of the country because of what these people did back then there. And luckily for us, the Gullah Geechee people have preserved that, and there's a few people who have also helped out with that, and it's amazing what they were able to do, companies like Anson Mills and chefs like Sean Brock. But in segment 2, we always talk the menu, Angela, you know? And if we're going to be cooking with roots and in low country tradition, then it has to be served family style. Okay. All right? Which I love eating family style. I like it when everyone at the table is sharing everything. I believe in sharing.
So when you say family style, that means you got like the big ham, the turkey, the big bowl of salad, all out on the table.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It's on the table. You don't have to get up and go get it from somewhere else. It's not a buffet. It's like you bring the buffet to the table. So you need a big table. And you're probably going to have some big people there, too, which is fine, because we're going to have a bunch of food that needs to get ate up.
Okay.
You know? Ain't that right, y'all? You said you hadn't heard me say y'all yet. Yeah. And these are dishes that are supposed to be shared and passed hand to hand, just like stories. So I think when we get into the entertainment portion, I think it's very simple entertainment. But I want to start off with something that is important, and it came from a community in St. Helena Island, which is a barrier island in Georgia, and there's a community there called Frogmore. And this dish is communal eating at its finest. And what it is, it's called Frogmore stew. Okay? We know it. Frogmore stew. It's the actual name.
Well, at least they're not hiding anything.
Nope. But there's no actual frogs in it, okay?
Oh, okay.
No, there's no frogs in it.
Let's
But
see, the black-eyed peas, that's why I don't like them.
Yeah?
It's got the word eyes in it.
It's a pea.
Call it a pea.
Well, there's lots of different peas, Angela. There's tons. There's, white acre peas. There's pink eye peas. There's lady peas. There's...
Yeah, see, the minute you put eye in it, you lose me.
Okay. Well, anyway, Frogmore stew is better known by something else that we all do all the time. Most people, if you like seafood, and that is shrimp boil. It's a shrimp boil. Frogmore stew originated back then, and it was made with local shrimp, which more of us should do. We still have to support our local shrimp communities. I buy it off of a boat. Roger Smith he goes by himself. He has a boat in Parker, Florida, and he takes his little boat out there 12 hours at night because you can only fish for shrimp at night.
Okay, that's the law, or that's the
I don't
time
know.
you can find them?
I'm not a shrimp fisherman or a
Okay.
shrimper, but that's what he told me he does, and he really does do it. And if you go to my Instagram, which, by the way, I should give a shout-out to my Instagram.
You sure should.
And Facebook, chef_Chris_I, and then you can, like, read the story I wrote about Roger, because I love writing, and I love writing about food, and I like talking about it, and, like, kind of the history and sharing of food. But all Frogmore stew is local shrimp, corn, potatoes, sausage, and sometimes blue crab. And it's all boiled in this, like, spice broth with lemon, bay leaves, and seasoning. Old Bay seasoning originated there, which is kind of cool to know. That's where Old Bay comes from.
Okay.
Yeah. And it gets dumped all straight into a, like, table with just paper. You just dump everything on the table and you eat. Mm. That's what a shrimp boil is. That's what Frogmore stew is.
Okay, well, I guess you're not drinking the juice.
No, you're not. You take it out of the juice.
Okay.
Yeah. And everything's just, like, boiled together. So you have, like, corn that tastes like shrimp, kind of, and it's got this spicy seasoning on it, and, like, it's just paper on the table, and you just dump it all out. And
okay. And they look really, really good.
I mean, they're amazing.
I just don't like most of the stuff that's in them.
Oh.
But it looks really good. You know, I could eat some corn or a boiled egg.
I mean, yeah, you can put boiled eggs in it. I've seen that. I've seen people put, like, all kinds of stuff in them. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just a big old stewed pot of seafood and vegetables, like, and, but this is how these people have gathered for generations. Like, it's very messy. It's overly abundant. But it also is very memorable. Like, I remember the shrimp boils I've been to. So, yeah, so I think we have to have a shrimp boil. We have to. Yeah, it's where that whole boiled seafood originated, and the rest of the country does it now. So, like, without these people there, we wouldn't have had that. And then you would like this one. This one is called Purloo, and in this Purloo is kind of like jambalaya. Okay. Best way to explain it. Very similar. I would even say that Purloo is probably where jambalaya came from. But it's a direct descendant of a West African dish called jollof rice, and it's cooked down. In this one that we are going to make, we're going to cook it down with chicken thighs, filled peas. We're not going to call them black-eyed peas, or Angela won't eat it. Filled peas, so, and caramelized onions, and then you just, like, serve it in this big pot. So it's almost like chicken and rice with peas in it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's really, really delicious. It's very good. I'm a huge fan of chicken and rice, so...
Okay, that sounds like a reason to use my wok.
You have to have a lid.
They come with a lid.
Okay. Lock it out, then. Go for it. But Purloo is like this, it's a story told in a bowl. It's very smoky. It can be spicy. It's a very grounding, homey. It's food that you would eat when you're sick.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very comforting. It's a very comforting food. And it's just cooked and served in this one big pot, and it's delicious. I would use Carolina Gold rice.
Okay.
For sure. Which probably isn't traditional, but Carolina Gold rice is something that I fell in love with probably 15 years ago, and I was buying it from Anson Mills, and now there's other cultivators of it, but Anson Mills being the original, and what they're doing for food and even around the globe at this point, like they're saving heirloom grains, and some of these things like we wouldn't have without that single company. So AnsonMills.com, amazing company. They do beautiful work. And then one of my favorite dishes, and it's very underrated to me. You know what I'm talking about? Okra and tomato stew. Do you like okra?
I'm giving you the death.
Yeah, you don't like okra. But okra and tomato stew, which is the predecessor of gumbo, essentially, is what it was. Some people say that tomatoes don't go in gumbo. I like tomatoes in gumbo, but hey, you know, what do I know? Anyway, and basically all it is tomatoes stewed down with okra in them. And a lot of people don't like okra because they think it's slimy, right? Well, it's not an okra and tomato stew because you're cooking this okra with high acid tomatoes. Tomatoes have acid in them. So when you stew them down, it kind of breaks down that gumminess that you can get with okra. And it's cooked for a long time, too. It's not something that's cooked for, like, 20 minutes. No, you got to let this cook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have thought that tomatoes would have just gotten slimy.
No,
Well.
no, they break down the slime.
Okay.
But it is a stew. Like, I like to put it on rice, especially for breakfast with, like, a fried egg. It's delicious.
Okay, it's just okra and tomatoes and no meat.
Nope. You can use, like, you could put, like, you could stew it down in, like, chicken broth or chicken stock. Or, yeah, or ham. Like, you could throw in a ham bone, I guess, if you wanted to.
Okay.
I think that would be pretty good. Maybe some, like, country ham in it would be nice. But that's for the next thing. Because the next one we're going to stew again. And that's collard greens. And I make some pretty good ones. I would like to think. But hold on. I want people to know this. So, do you know how okra got to the United States?
No.
So, okra seeds look like little beads. And they got to North America. I shouldn't say the United States. Sorry about that. They got to North America because enslaved women from West Africa used them as beads in their hair. It was by accident. And when they got here and they would take the beads out, they found out that okra grows really, really well in the North American South.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking they were smuggled, but
they weren't smuggled.
Far-fetched.
It was an accident. Like, they just were braided into hair, and it's a very historical vegetable, and it's very underrated. If you know how to cook it, it's really great on the grill. Okay. Right now, I'm putting it in succotash at the restaurant. Yeah, and it's really, really good because it's growing right now. It grows in the summer.
Okay.
And it's a funny looking plant.
It's a funny looking.
Yeah.
Food.
Well, it's like, yeah. I guess it kind of is, But anyway, collard greens. And they're grown all over the South now. And I like to make them with two types of meat in them. And I like to put them together. And that is turkey necks. All right. And ham hocks, specifically smoked ham hocks.
Okay.
Now, both of those items have a lot of collagen in them. So it gives the collard greens, when you're cooking them in what becomes what we call pot liquor. So the juice from stewed collard greens is called pot liquor. You should save it. It's delicious.
Save it and drink it?
I don't know. Do whatever you want to with it. I know what I do with it, and I dip cornbread in it. And it's delicious.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're going to take these collard greens. We're going to take the stems out of them. A lot of people don't do that.
I know.
So they don't. You got to do that. So you pull the stems off, or you pull the leaves off the stems. And then you just put them in a pot with some Vidalia onions, some smoked turkey necks, and some ham hocks. I like to add chicken broth instead of water, just because I want it to be super rich. And just cook it all day long.
Okay, so they cook on low.
Yeah, you cook them low and slow all day long. Okay. And they just, they're good. Okay. I really like them. And then I think collard greens have to be served with cornbread. All right? And cast iron cornbread specifically. You got to bake cornbread in cast iron. Okay. And then you serve it in the cast iron.
And you sounding like you're trying to insinuate cornmeal cornbread that's unsweetened.
Yeah, this one's not sweetened. It's the only sugar in it is from the natural sugar in the corn because corn meal comes from corn. Okay. It's dried corn that's ground up. So that we're not going to add sugar to this one. Sometimes you do. I like to add sugar in corn muffins. Okay. But this party ain't for corn muffins. This party's for cornbread. All right? And I want to bake this cornbread right in a live fire. Like, I think you got to have live fire cooking and boil. Like, it's got to be. We're painting a cool picture here of what this menu might look like. And then for dessert, we're going to do some sweet potato ham pies. Yep, we're gonna make Pop-Tarts, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. You mean actually sweet potatoes inside like Pop-Tarts and
Like
not
sweet potato ground up,
little
mash.
tiny
Yeah, like
muffin pan.
like imagine like an empanada,
Okay. Okay.
but with sweet potato in it, and it's meant to be sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
So
see, that's why I take everything you say literally, because you said hand pies.
I mean, a hand pie is a Pop-Tart too, like. You know. But I think that this meal food's more than just your stomach. I think it honors the people. It feeds identity. It feeds tradition. And stay tuned. This is WKGC Public Media 90.7 NPR.
On the next Putumayo World Music Hour, we celebrate Father's Day with musical fathers and their talented sons and daughters.
I am my mama's son, you are your father's child. Sometimes we act as if we hate each other. We are all brothers and sisters.
I'm Rosalie Howard. Join us for Famous Fathers, the next Putumayo World Music Hour.
Sundays at 5 p.m. on WKGC.
Support comes from Visit Tallahassee. Tallahassee, Florida is where natural beauty, history, and culture unite. With 700 miles of trails, contemporary dining, and captivating events. Getaway plans are at visittallahassee.com. Tallahassee, pretty unexpected.
Real Talk is celebrating the 50th anniversary of Jaws. Join the conversation Monday the 23rd at noon as we dive deep into the landmark motion picture right here on 90.7 WKGC.
Welcome back to WKGC Public Media 90.7 NPR. I'm Chef Chris, your host of Doing Dinner, and today we are talking Low Country Party. We just painted an amazing picture. We got food on the table of this big family-style meal with collard greens and shrimp, cornbread, sweet potato hand pies, some okra and tomato stew, some smoked chicken and rice. You know, we're doing it right today.
Collard greens, we all gonna have itis.
What is collard greens? Don't give you. What is itis?
Not the collard greens alone. All of the food together. Yeah. The way you want to sleep.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing but just lay down and take a nap.
No, I mean that's okay. That's food that's good for your soul if it makes you go to sleep. But you know, now that we've got the food on the table, let's set the scene. In segment 3, we always paint the picture of what this dinner party is going to look like, what it's going to feel like. Sometimes like crazy ideas of how to invite people, but this one's just going to be pretty straightforward. And I think when you're painting a picture of the South, specifically that area of the South, one of the items that pops into my head and is very visual is Spanish moss. And Spanish moss is the stuff that you see hanging from big old oak trees. Mm-hmm. I think if you have a place to do this party, underneath an oak tree with Spanish moss hanging is a good idea.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, whenever I was a kid, my parents used to tell me to not play with the Spanish moss because it had chiggers in it. I think they called them chiggers. They're like these little bugs that live in Spanish moss. I'm like, I don't care about the bugs. I'm a kid. But apparently you shouldn't touch it. So, but I want to do like linen and burlap on the table, and then I want to have like brown.
I just knew we was going to do paper disposable stuff.
Yeah, we're doing disposables. We ain't washing dishes at this thing.
Okay, you just said linen.
No, that's the tablecloth.
Okay. Phew.
No, you out of your mind. No, ma'am, we're doing linen and burlap tablecloths, and then we're going to put brown paper over the top of it, and then we're going to dump shrimp boil on it. All right?
The perfect reason to get those brown paper bags from the market.
Yeah. I think, like, as our centerpiece, very simple. Mason jars, the big ones, with lots of wild, because right now flowers are growing everywhere. There's just a lot of flowers. If you go down to the market on Saturday, either one, St. Andrews, Panama City, Rosemary Beach, wherever it is you go, you're going to see a ton of sunflowers and a ton of wildflowers. Because right now is when they grow here, and they're beautiful. So thank you to Jennifer's Garden. She gave me some flowers last week. She was like, here, I think you need these. I'm like, do I look sad? You know?
Hey, she just felt that you needed some flowers.
Well, I spend a lot of money with her. I buy a lot of vegetables from her every week. So, yeah. Even like rosemary sprigs. Rosemary grows great in North Florida. Like okra blossoms, they don't last very long. So the pod of okra starts out as a flower. Okay. It's very beautiful. It's usually yellow, and they're very pretty. Like if you're at home and you're sitting, not driving, Google okra flowers. They're very, very pretty, but they only last for like a day. So,
okay, and this is the flower. We ain't talking about a flower that turns into the okra.
Yeah, that's how okra happens. Yeah.
So it starts out really beautiful, huh?
It starts out really, really beautiful.
And turns into something quite slimy.
Yeah, it's yellow, and it's like, it looks kind of like a hibiscus, and it can have it's like a red or purple center, I want to say, but they're very pretty flowers. They're very pretty plants. Okay. Okra is a beautiful plant, especially when it's blossoming. But yeah, the pod, the flower, that's what okra is.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool, But I think they only bloom for like a day. Like you get one day of these flowers. And I think they're totally worth it because they're super pretty. But if you can get some fresh okra flowers, which you're only going to use for one day, then they're nice. I think also on the table, tea lights and mason jars that are floating, give cool shout outs to water. This is definitely going to be one where we have like string lights overhead, or we can just go super Victorian and just hang a chandelier in the oak tree. Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of when you're doing parties like this, hanging chandeliers in trees, which I have done. Yeah, I did a wedding one time in a backyard, and it was a very, very beautiful home on the water, and they had a lot of oak trees. This was pre-Hurricane Michael. And that was the first time I saw like nice chandeliers hanging in trees. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And it was pretty cool. So maybe like...
So it's not stuff kind of like falling down?
No.
Okay, I mean like tree stuff.
No, there's not tree stuff falling down.
Okay, because I'm thinking, if you had like, say, a punch bowl or punch bowls, you would look up and it would be a little debris in it or something.
It ain't gonna hurt you. It'll be alright. Yeah, so maybe like some string lights or twinkle lights in an oak tree with a giant chandelier just hanging over the table from the oak tree. Spanish moss. I think decorating the table with oyster shells, this would be a cool idea as well. So, and then maybe like some like dried corn husk, which have their own unique kind of thing. And I think the plates that we're eating on are disposable. Okay. But I think the dishes we're serving everything in, except for the shrimp bowl, because we're just going to put that on the table, need to be like the dishes you don't normally use. Like the old family dishes, you know what I'm saying? I like that idea. Like china sets. Do people still collect china sets?
Probably.
Yeah? It's like, do you still get that when you get married? You still get like sets of like fine china? I know that used to be a thing. I don't know if it's a thing anymore.
I don't know either. I'd like to get a couple of cows as a thing.
A couple cows?
Yeah.
What? Like the baby Highland cows, like the little cute ones?
Some kind of dowry.
Okay.
Something.
Like, I want a fine china set. Angela wants a cow.
No, a couple of cows.
Yeah, two. One ain't enough.
Yeah.
So, but old family heirloom dishes, if you have them, or you can find them, I bet you could go to like secondhand stores or antique shops and find cool dishes for this, and they don't need to match.
Right.
Like the picture of the table is going to be like very like, well, that's a cool bowl. Like it could be a talking piece too. It could inspire someone if you can find. So, one of the things that is iconic to Gullah culture is called a sweetgrass basket. And if you've never seen what a sweetgrass basket looks like, it's this like very uniquely woven. They're very expensive as well. So they're like, some sweetgrass baskets can be like $500. But they're a treasure. Like, they're one of the most like beautiful handcrafted baskets that you can get, and usually they're in these like really cool designs, and they're very nice. If you can find a sweetgrass basket, or you have one, if you have one, you're lucky. But if you could find one of those and put like some fresh bread in it, or just like something in there, that would be really cool.
Okay.
I would try to find some if I was doing this party, just because of what they are. And, you know, let's talk about some music.
Okay.
Because you know you got to have good music at this party. Now, I have like, right now I'm really loving Leon Bridges. Do you know Leon Bridges?
Mm-hmm.
God, I love Leon Bridges. His music is amazing. And Robert Randolph and the Family Band, so good.
Okay.
Fantastic. These are like in the Alabama Shakes. That's like some of the more modern people I would have. But Preservation Hall Jazz Band, definitely got to have some of their stuff. Big band stuff.
Okay.
Now, for the old school, got to have Ray Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Got to. Right? I mean,
this is an outdoor party, so we just have some speakers and a playlist.
Yeah. Everybody has a speaker now, you know? And Sam Cooke, Etta James. Like, I think if you just have a list of Etta James, Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, Preservation Hall Jazz Band, Alabama Shakes, Leon Bridges, and Robert Randolph, like, you got good music at this party, and it's going to be great. Like, I've been listening to a lot of Leon Bridges and a lot of Bob Dylan, surprising enough. I feel like a little bit of Bob Dylan is happening inside of me right now. Like, I can be kind of a rebel sometimes. I can be a little controversial. But, you know, and then I think if you wanted to do live music, if it was a bigger party, somebody playing fiddles and banjos, doing very traditional like tunes like that, maybe folk music would be good here. And like, I think that like if you're setting the table like this, or I don't know if this is a whole lot of like partying type atmosphere.
Okay.
I think like maybe playing some cards would be fun at a party like this.
Okay.
Or dominoes, like a table game, you know?
Some group thing.
Yeah, some type of group thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I just learned how to play canasta.
I'm not familiar.
No,
I've heard it before.
Yeah, it's a
like
card game.
Play on a yacht. I mean, you know, on a cruise ship.
No, it's like a card game. It's not a gambling game. I mean, I guess it could be. I don't know. Well, Angela taught me how. My girlfriend's name is Angela, by the way. She taught me how to play it. And, like, it's this really fun card game. And she called it Hand and Foot. I don't know. It was fun. It was cool. I just recently learned how to play it. So I think cards at a party like this is very, very fun and unique. And I think it helps, like, inspire people to talk. Because I think that being able to, like, tell stories, because in the Gullah culture, storytelling is very, very important, especially with like old folk tales. So like telling stories about what you've done in your life, and that needs to be part of the entertainment here. Probably the biggest part of the entertainment here.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a sharing table, so sharing stories is part of that. And I think that it helps honor this place or what we're doing too, you know. And I don't know, what do you think? Did I miss any bands?
Well, no, because we're not focused on that. The music is just ambiance, unless we had a band.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just, you know, we're enjoying the food. We're talking about the food. We're talking with our neighbors.
Yeah.
We're communing like a big family reunion that includes the whole nation.
Yeah. Things like what friend tradition do you cherish? Or, you know, what's a piece of advice someone in family gave you that it's always stuck with you? Like, questions like that, you know? I mean, and it could be fun, easier questions, too. Like, what's your earliest memory as me of a friend, you know?
And that's the time for the elders to come up and, you know, give the youngins that sound sage advice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, This is 90.7 WKGC Public Media, NPR, and we'll be back after this break.
Engineer Saad Bamla loves solving biological mysteries, like the strange way a bug in his backyard was peeing.
I was like, hey, there's something happening. There's a droplet at its butt, and it's flicking it. I was like, all right. Challenge accepted, bug.
Animal Enigmas. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
Saturdays at 9 a.m. on WKGC.
Becoming a WKGC underwriter or sponsor introduces your business, organization, or event to thousands of listeners along the Emerald Coast. It also shows that you're committed to supporting public radio in your community. Whether you are interested in a one-time donation or recurring financial support, there is a package right for you. Learn how you can become a sponsor or underwriter by emailing us at wkgcnews@gulfcoast.edu.
Welcome back to 90.7 WKGC Public Media, NPR. This is Doing Dinner, and I think we have a caller on the line. Don't we, Angela? We have a caller?
Yes, we do. We have a caller on the line that would like to chime in on games for this event.
Games for this event. Okay, what are you thinking there?
Hey, Chris, this is Ryan in Panama City Beach, and I think that I would include croquet.
Croquet.
I know croquet because at a lot of the picnics that I've attended and cookouts, that croquet is often a game that is played. And so I think it's wonderful because you mentioned being able to have conversations and tell stories. Well, croquet allows you to do that because it is not too mentally taxing. So I think it affords the opportunity to do just that. So what do you think about adding croquet to this Southern Genteel dinner party that you are building?
I like the idea of croquet, and I've only played croquet a few times in my life, and it was at an event called Rose and Croquet, which is a very fun event that is done here in the Panhandle of Florida. But no, I like the idea of doing that because it is kind of like it's a ball and stick game that you just kind of stand around and try to put it through these like horseshoes and that are stuck into the grass. But if you have the grass for it, then absolutely you should play croquet. And for those of us that are blessed enough to have a putting green in our backyard, then it would be even fun. You could play golf. But, yeah, I like the idea of doing croquet at this. It is a very relaxing kind of like social talking game, which a lot of ball and stick games are not. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. I love that idea.
Well, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you. For anyone else who wants to give us a call, our number is 850-772-6803. That is 850-772-6803. We'd love to hear from you throughout the show, anytime, on any show. You can always call in, and we can always chat food and dinner parties and, fun things. You can even talk to Angela if you want. Who's quickly becoming my co-host of Doing Dinner, and she didn't even know it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm becoming well versed at culinary stuff too, thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope that it's fun for everyone to listen and talk about food and talk about dinner parties because it's what I love to do. I recently just did a dinner party with a friend of mine. Her name is Leah. Yeah, and she's a sommelier. She's a wine expert.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was over in Destin, and we did like some really cool foods. And she she talked about it was actually like a seminar almost. It was only for 6 people.
Okay.
It was very small, and it was like how to pair wines with food for these people. And she had me cook for it. So I did grits and caviar. It was amazing.
Okay, and that's one thing we didn't mention was wine.
No, we didn't talk about wine. I think that at this party there's got to be a lot of beer.
Okay.
I also think you need something that's very refreshing that can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. And
Okay.
if we do like to remind our listeners, if you're going to drink, please don't drive. Please be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe like a watermelon gin fizz, like a watermelon punch would be good here. One that can be non-alcoholic and then one that can be. I mean, you can buy watermelon juice in the store now.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie's makes it, and it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie's is an amazing Florida-based company, by the way, who makes fresh juice. I will give them a shout-out because their products are very good quality, and I love them. So they make their tangerine juice, change your life.
Okay, and so I really like how you kept this event fairly simple.
Yeah.
'Cause, normally we're doing some
elaborate
signature stuff,
Mhm.
and I guess we're not really making time for that. We're, we did a lot of elaborate cooking, but we're focused on being a part of the group and enjoying everything.
Yeah, like sometimes when you're doing a dinner party, you are the entertainment. Specifically, whenever I do them, people are hiring me to do them.
Okay.
So I am part of their entertainment. So they don't need a whole lot of other entertainment. Like, sometimes people just want to watch you cook. They want to talk about what you're doing, which is fine, and I love that. This past one I did, they didn't really want to watch me cook. Whenever I got there and I started cooking or prepping, they were talking about a trip to Europe to like go buy wine in Italy. Like,
okay.
They're big wine people. So yeah, shout out to them. I mean,
and so you're not doing any dinner party for Juneteenth?
No, the restaurant is open tonight. I actually do have to do a drop off though, for paella today.
Okay.
So I have to go cook a paella and then go back to the restaurant and make tapas and other things at the bodega. It's fun. I love it. I have a great staff, and they do most of the work.
Right, and I just want to, while you were talking, I was over here writing notes, and, I don't want to admit that I actually wrote down your social media stuff for my own purposes.
Chef_Chris_I.
Yeah, and you said that's at Instagram and at Facebook.
Yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, on Facebook is just my name.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just Christopher Enfinger.
Okay.
For those that want to find me on Facebook, it's I do a lot of writing on it. So, like, I take pictures of food, or I love art too. So a lot of it's like art writing or food writing or like places writing, experience writing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like every picture has a story that I like to tell.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes people will be like, wow, that was like last night I had a friend who posted on his Facebook, or he's a local businessman. I know him. I guess we're tight. We're cool. But anyway, he was like, if you could have any last meal, what would you eat and where would it be? And I told this story about, it would be in New York City. And I told the story of like from the moment I land at LaGuardia, which is one of the airports in New York, and how I would get to this. Like I would specifically ride, I wouldn't take an Uber, I would specifically ride in a New York yellow cab to the Lower West Side of Manhattan, and I would stop at 113 McDougal Street. I know the address to this restaurant. I would go to the bar, I would sit at the bar, I would take one seat. It's called Minetta Tavern, and it's owned by a gentleman named Keith McNally, and he's a legend in hospitality. He does, dude knows what he's doing. Like, I model a lot of what I try to do on him. I'm probably only successful 20% of the time at doing that, but he is an amazing restaurateur. Anyway, Minetta Tavern is one of his restaurants, and it's this very old school kind of Rat Pack vibe New York City restaurant in Greenwich Village. And so it's a very cool neighborhood. It's where Taylor Swift used to live. So it's very expensive as well. Yeah. So anyway, I would sit there. I would order a New York strip prime. I would get some sauteed mushrooms. I would order the second best coconut cake in the world. Because the very best coconut cake in the world is served in Charleston, South Carolina, at Peninsula Grill. It is the best coconut cake you will ever eat in your life. It might be the best cake I've ever eaten in my life.
Okay.
You can order it online. It's like $115 for this cake. But boy, it is so good.
And then I'm sitting here thinking, I am so uncultured. I'm thinking chili cheese fries and wingdings.
I like chili cheese fries too.
And you're talking about steaks and coconut pie.
Yep. And definitely some Palms Aligot, which are like these very pure potatoes that are equal parts butter, cheese, and potato, and they're so delicious.
Okay.
And I would probably have a dirty martini. For sure.
Papaya juice.
Papaya juice?
I miss that.
Yeah?
They sold it, just everywhere up north. Down here, I never even knew what a papaya. I didn't know papaya was a thing until I moved here.
Yeah. I had a papaya tree in my yard when I lived in West Palm Beach. It was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I do like papaya.
Okay.
It's a very underrated fruit.
Mm-hmm.
More people should use papaya.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's pretty good. But yeah, that's where I'd go. I'd go to Minetta Tavern in Greenwich Village, New York City. I would enjoy every second of it. It's my favorite place in the world. It's like my very favorite place in the world. People ask me, what's your favorite place in the world? I'm like, Minetta Tavern, Greenwich Village, New York City, Manhattan. I know exactly where it's at. I've never been anywhere else that I was like, I truly love everything about this place. Like, I can't find one thing I don't enjoy about it.
Okay.
I even enjoy, you really need reservations to eat at Minetta Tavern. You don't have to have them, but to get in, you really need them. I mean, New York's a city of almost 20 million people, and they have a lot of restaurants, but the good ones are always booked.
And so what is comparable here, locally? Don't say nothing. We got good stuff here.
We do. For Father's Day, I ate at Hunt and Gather.
Okay.
My dad had never been there, so we went there, and he really liked it, which was cool. I used to not go out to eat with my dad a lot because he ordered things like Thousand Island dressing and we'd be at like a Mexican restaurant. I'd be like, can I get some Thousand Island dressing? I'm like, what are you going to put Thousand Island dressing on at a Mexican restaurant? What are you doing? But he was known to do that for a while.
When we become parents, we live to torture our children.
Right, well, I can't eat out with you anymore, Dad. If people see me here and see you doing that, I don't need any help ruining my reputation.
Hey, all these movies with these big mama characters, I'm gonna break out in song at one dinner that we're having with the family, and they're gonna have to sit there and take it.
And you'll be happy to do it. You're like, I don't get embarrassed.
Right.
Which is kind of fun. It is fun embarrassing your children.
Uh-huh.
It is. I love to embarrass my daughter. And I do it very well. I'm an expert. Very dad-like of me. But, yeah, I mean, I think on today's show, we took a really cool journey, and we talked about, the tidal creeks of the Carolina Sea Islands to, the smoke-swirled backyards of today and how they intermine with each other. We honored Gullah Geechee cuisine. We celebrated Juneteenth on it. And we set a table that carries generations on its shoulders, which is important. And, that is what it means to do dinner with heart, with meaning, with soul. And I think at a party like this, we aren't just feeding people. We're feeding memory. We're lighting fires in places that deserve to glow. So whether you're making a pot of purloo, braising greens, or just sitting on the porch with a sweet tea and a good story, know this. You are part of the tradition when you do that. Thanks for listening. I'm Chef Chris. This is Doing Dinner. I'll see y'all next week.
Hey, it's Guy Raz here, inviting you to Planet Money and How I Built This. You'll hear from a team of experienced financial journalists who will explain the economy. And then join me for How I Built This, as innovators and entrepreneurs take us on their journey of building companies like Lyft, Spanx, Sam Adams, Instagram, and more. Planet Money and How I Built This.
Saturdays at 6 a.m. on WKGC.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Remain focused on what you're doing. If safe to do so, exhale slowly, leaning to one side. Inhale back to center. If safe to do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ed Council.
Hi, B. Maxwell inviting you to join me for a soulful Saturday, starting with blues and classic R&B soul with B. Maxwell from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. Followed by urban groove with your favorite auntie from 3 until 6 p.m. Then it's the Soul of Jazz with Walter Hill from 6 until 8 p.m. So join me, B. Maxwell, for a soulful Saturday from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. here on 90.7 FM.
PanCare and Gulf Coast State College have partnered to bring a health care clinic to the Panama City campus of GCSC. The clinic will provide health care services to GCSC students, faculty, and staff, and the community at large. Services include primary care, blood screenings.
You're listening to 90.7 FM WKGC, Panama City.